So the ascetics are essentially looking to, for one, there's a quest for meaning in life. They want to come to terms with what it is that they're here for, and once they've understood, are they doing what needs to be done to fulfill that goal. So ascetics tend to remove themselves from society, they tend to isolate themselves, they tend to minimize the distractions that are likely to encumber them with thoughts that will prevent them from reflecting. So while the goal they have in mind is very, very noble, very correct, that they want to quietly reflect without distraction. However, at least in my personal belief, removing yourself from society is not the way to do it, because you've kind of tempered with the environment. You must stay within the environment you're going to live in, and try and manage to reflect despite the distractions. So that's my own personal view, albeit I understand the goal they have in mind is absolutely worthwhile. So I do believe that life is a journey, that life, the fulfillment in life comes from committing yourself to a bigger cause, something that you know you're contributing to a broader goal, a broader purpose, and usually that implies, commitment to truth, commitment to helping others, commitment to happiness of others, and things that take you away from a selfish behavior and take you towards a magnanimous behavior. So that's sort of the broad principle. So now that of course requires you reflect, so you understand who you are, you understand where your own issues are, because unless you understand yourself well, I don't believe you can actually contribute to others well.
Right.
So, however, I do believe that this act of reflection is not sporadic, it's continuous instead. So it must happen all the time. So one must take every opportunity to reflect, any happening in day-to-day life. And so I apply an approach very opposite to one of an ascetic, which is reflect and introspect despite all the distractions, or in midst of all the distractions.
So you've never felt that you've had to endure distractions that promote selfish behavior rather than an aversion to it?
All the time. That's what makes us human. So if I could say that I have found the path and I traverse the path without any distraction, it's not the case at all. I'm works in progress, which means I do have distractions, I do get distracted, I do get drawn to selfish behavior. Yet there is in the background constantly reflective behavior working in parallel that reminds me every so often I need to do course correction and stick to the path.
Siddhartha leaves his father and joins the samanas and leads a very disciplined life. Do you think that that degree of discipline is a critical component to reaching enlightenment?
So discipline is absolutely a critical component. Now the question is, do you need to take some time off, as in go into some kind of a hermit-like existence for some time? That if it works for you, perfect. But once you have inculcated that discipline, once you've embraced that discipline, you must come back to the mainstream fold of life. Because if it requires that you stay away from the world to stay disciplined, then it's impossible for you to commit yourself to a bigger cause, because you need to be in the world to commit to the world. You can't live away from the world and commit to the world and help the world. You can't do that.
Right.
So, to take yourself away for a period of time is like going to a retreat. Like, so if you need to heal yourself in any which, so if you're on a weight loss program or anything of that sort, you go into a retreat. That's not uncommon. So this is an emotional and mental retreat of a sort.
Mm-hmm. So when people refer to the term conquering the self, what do you think they're actually trying to do?
So there's a very beautiful phrase in the Sikh scriptures, in the Guru Granth Sahib. It says, "Man jeete jag jeet." If you conquer your mind, you can conquer the world. So conquering the self basically means having complete control of your mind, to be able to direct your thoughts in the direction. So consciously controlling and directing your thoughts is a very important achievement, because then, let's take an example, if a distraction is distracting you, is taking you away from your path, you can constantly redirect your thoughts. Yeah. So overcoming your mind, having control over your mind, is an important state of achievement. I believe it's a key enabler for you to do other things, such as committing yourself to a broader cause, committing to it without distractions, staying disciplined. So overcoming your mind is extremely important.
So what is your idea of meditation? What do you think meditation entails, and do you think it's a significant factor of leading a healthy life?
Right, absolutely. So first answer is meditation is a critical component to a healthy life. Now meditation means two things to me. First, reflection. So when I meditate, I don't necessarily repeat some kind of a mantra or some phrase that keeps me away from thinking about all the other things. It's reflecting. I pick a topic that I need to reflect on, something having to do with self-cleansing, self-correction, understanding myself, understanding my deeds, understanding the impact of what I've done on someone else. And I reflect on that. So that, to me, that's a perfectly legitimate version of meditation. Mm-hmm. And so that's that version that allows me to essentially introspect on a point, on an issue. The other class or category of meditation is to consciously try and limit the distracting thoughts, which means try to bring my mind to a calm state where it's not being distracted in too many directions. And I think that state of mind, it helps create the environment in which you can think other things as opposed to things that are sporadic and are triggered by the environment. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things I mean by meditation.
There are lots of conflicting ideas, and we don't quite know how to center ourselves and focus our goals and discipline ourselves into being who we want to be. So what advice would you give to someone who was struggling with that identity crisis?
So, first accept the fact that you're still a kid. You're still 16, 17, 18 years old. And there is no shortcut to experience of life. Now, I do concur on one hand, some kids grow faster emotionally and some grow slower. Yet, the experience of life comes only with one thing, with experience. That requires that you have to have gone through simply the years that inflict experiences on you. So, don't feel bad if you have questions that cannot be answered, because you have to live the questions themselves.